Welcome to the Explainer. Every single day, leaders are just facing this absolute barrage of high stakes choices. And let's be honest, sometimes just figuring out what you're going to have for lunch causes enough decision fatigue to completely derail your afternoon. But hey, we're not talking about everyday choices today. We're looking at how artificial intelligence is fundamentally rewiring the way leaders make massive, organizational altering decisions. Whether we're talking about strategy, huge investments, your people, or literally the future of an entire company, the rules of the game are shifting right under our feet. And this whole shift, it creates this instant intellectual itch, right? Just think about it for a second. If an AI can process millions of data points in seconds, instantly model out all these possible outcomes, and consistently give us better, faster, and just more accurate information, well, shouldn't we just step aside and let the machine make the final call? Honestly, that's exactly the itch we're going to scratch today. So to figure that out, here is our playbook. First up, we're covering the decision-making shift. Second, why data is not wisdom. Third, the AI decision partner. And finally, we'll wrap up with a better decision framework. Okay, let's dive into this with section 1, the decision-making shift. You see, the sheer volume of modern information has just completely upended what it actually means to be an executive. For generations, traditional leadership was all about relying on your hard-earned experience and that classic gut intuition, just using whatever limited information you could get your hands on. But today, you are practically drowning in a 24/7 stream of customer data, operational metrics, and financial intel. Imagine you're trying to decide whether to launch a new product, and your inbox is just flooded with 1,000 totally contradictory data points. So the modern challenge? It's not about finding information anymore. The real challenge is actually understanding it. Which brings us to section 2, data is not wisdom. Because as it turns out, having a dashboard packed full of data doesn't automatically mean you're making better choices. Actually, scratch that. Sometimes it just makes you way more confused. You see, there's a really strict boundary where the machine's capability just stops. Data simply tells us what is happening. It's like seeing a sudden, unexpected drop in your quarterly sales. Now, AI-powered analysis takes that a step further and helps explain why it's happening. Maybe it points out this really subtle shift in market trends. But here's the kicker. Neither the data nor the analysis can actually tell you what you should do about it. And this brilliantly illustrates what is strictly the leader's domain, which is wisdom. Wisdom is that unique ability to understand consequences, human relationships, your core values, and the long-term impact to determine what should actually happen next. Think about a CEO trying to decide whether to restructure a team based on a data report. A machine, it doesn't have empathy. It doesn't understand human nuance or messy relationship dynamics. Figuring out the right path forward takes judgment, it takes context, and quite frankly, it takes human courage. You can get a ton of information from a machine for sure, but you cannot get wisdom from it. Let's move into section 3, the AI decision partner. Because if AI isn't here to replace our wisdom, how should we actually be using it? Well, we need to reframe it as this incredibly powerful analytical partner in our decision-making process. AI just massively expands a leader's analytical capability. I like to think of it as a relentless sparring partner. It can analyze information at a totally unprecedented scale, spot these hidden patterns we humans would easily miss, and rigorously stress test your ideas by forecasting outcomes and simulating completely different futures. It literally hands you a vastly upgraded toolkit for analysis. You can actually use AI to actively expand the conversation. Try just asking it things like, what are we missing? Or what assumptions are we making here? Or even, what could go totally wrong with this strategy? By asking these specific questions, you're using the machine to uncover your own blind spots. It makes your entire decision-making process so much more rigorous. But hold on, we really have to pause here. There are some severe pitfalls to just blindly automating responsibility and accepting whatever the machine spits out. AI systems are incredibly powerful, absolutely, but they make mistakes. They might be working with incomplete data. They definitely have hidden biases from their training info, and they completely lack real-world context. If leaders start relying too heavily on AI, you risk the most dangerous outcome of the whole shebang, losing your own critical thinking. So, the golden rule here is simple. Use AI confidently, but verify intelligently. Being an intelligent leader in this modern era means striking this really careful balance of trust and skepticism. You've got to always question the outputs rather than just taking them as gospel, because at the end of the day, you are still the one accountable.
Let's move to and see how this builds into section 4, a better decision framework. We're going to look at a concrete, highly practical playbook for AI-assisted decision-making that you can literally start using today. All right, here is your 5-step framework. Step 1, define the decision. What actually needs to be decided? Step 2, gather the evidence, using your data, your hard-earned experience, and that AI-powered analysis. Step 3, challenge your assumptions. Ask what might be totally wrong. Step 4, evaluate the consequences by looking at the financial, operational, and human outcomes. And then step 5, and this is absolutely the most crucial one, make the decision. You have to take human action because analysis paralysis can't last forever. Ultimately, leadership is about moving forward. To help you out with step 3 of that framework, here's a highly practical prompt you can use right now. Seriously, before making an important call, type this in. What are the strongest arguments against my current decision? This is exactly how you leverage technology to actively dismantle your own confirmation bias. And then follow it right up with this one. What information would change my mind? You see, the absolute best leaders out there, they aren't using AI as a yes machine just to pat them on the back and confirm what they already believe. They use it to figure out where their logic is brittle, and ultimately to just think better. So what does this all mean for the future of decisions? Well, it really requires 3 core things. First, the processing power of AI and data to help you see more and analyze way faster. Second, human judgment and strategy to actually contextualize all that information. And third, ethical responsibility and courage. Those massive calls involving your company's purpose and real human consequences, those simply cannot be automated. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. AI is an incredible tool, no doubt about it. It expands your vision, it sharpens your analysis, and it's absolutely going to help you decide better. But true responsibility? That is always going to remain human. The machine just can't tell you what matters. So the real question you have to ask yourself as a leader is, AI helps you decide better, but are you ready to decide what is actually worth doing?